I want to tell you something I used to do constantly. When I was in chronic pain, not managing it well for many, many years, I fixated on my pain. All day long, my thoughts sounded like this: I can't do this anymore. How bad is this going to get? What should I try next? I think I've tried everything. Why is this still happening? Is this going to go on forever? What if I'm doing something to make it worse? Can you identify with that? I wasn't trying to be dramatic. I was scared. And when you're scared and in pain, it makes sense to constantly monitor it. I thought. But here's what I didn't understand at the time. The more I focused on my pain, the louder it got, and the longer it lasted, and the more intense it felt. It felt overwhelming, and it felt unending. So what I eventually learned, and what became one of the very first tools that helped me on my recovery journey, was something simple. That attention works like a flashlight, and where you point it matters. So imagine you're standing in a dark room, you're holding a flashlight. Wherever you point that flashlight, that's what becomes brighter, right? Well, when I was living in hyper-focus mode, my flashlight was glued to my pain. All I could see was the pain. And when your brain sees something over and over, it starts to believe that this must be very important, this must be very dangerous, and I should monitor it very closely. And it turns the volume of pain up. Not because you're weak, not because you're imagining your pain. I've said it before, your pain is real. But because your brain thinks it's being helpful. So when I lived in that cycle of, I can't do this, what should I try next? And am I making things worse? I was unintentionally sending my nervous system one message: you're in danger. And when the nervous system thinks it's in danger, things start to change in your body. Remember, we talked about that. Muscles tighten, your breathing changes, your sleep can suffer, your thoughts keep racing, and your pain intensifies. The problem was, I didn't know that I could actually move my flashlight. Is that safe? Is that good? Learning about the flashlight principle was one of the first moments that I finally felt some hope. Not false hope, not, I think I'm cured. This is going to be the silver bullet. No. It was, you know what? I have more influence here than I thought. Purpose wasn't to eliminate the pain. I didn't have to pretend it wasn't there. I just had to practice widening my attention. So the first time I tried it, I remember thinking, this feels too simple. This can't be helpful. But simple does not mean that something's not effective. So when I intentionally shifted my focus, even for a minute, something started to change. Pain didn't disappear, but it stopped being the only thing that mattered. See, I was amazed that by not fixating on the pain and having all this fear and concern, it actually caused me to feel better. But this is important. Moving your attention doesn't mean ignoring your pain, okay? It doesn't mean you're suppressing it. It doesn't mean anything like that. It means that you're noticing, yes, pain is here, but so are other things. We're really focusing on changing our perspective. So we might shift our focus to maybe noticing our breathing in and out, shift our focus to calling on a friend or having a conversation with someone we enjoy being with. Sometimes music or your favorite show, sometimes a favorite hobby or pastime that you enjoy. And if you can't do those things right now, even thinking about or planning something in the future that's enjoyable to you, that can be a good distraction too. Another good one is there's other people out there who are hurting. So is there someone else who's out there hurting who could use some encouragement? Could you send them a text or give them a call? That really helps to remind you that you're not alone. There's a lot of different ways that we can just focus our flashlight on something else. The purpose is not to escape, but it's to rebalance yourself, okay? Because when pain's the only thing that's lit up, it feels enormous, doesn't it? But when our attention widens, it can feel more manageable, right? Again, not gone. It's just not in the center stage. So I still use that flashlight every single day. Not because I'm avoiding the pain, but because my attention naturally drifts back to pain when pain's there. That is normal. So be patient with yourself. But I gently move the flashlight. Not with frustration, just intentionally. I look to see where else could I put my attention. And when I work with clients, this is often one of the first tools that we practice. It doesn't require any equipment. It doesn't require even a perfect mindset. It just requires awareness. Awareness that we do have the ability to refocus that flashlight. And our awareness can be trained. Sometimes, though, people worry, isn't this just distraction? But here's how I see it. Avoidance says, oh no, this is dangerous. Run, pay attention, do something. Oh, I don't know what I'm going to do. But redirection, that refocus, says, I'm choosing where my focus goes. The pain is there, but I'm choosing where to put my focus. There's a difference. You're not pretending that the pain is not real. Okay, you're not pretending that the pain is not real. You're choosing not to let it be in charge or to control you. That's not denying it. That's just learning a new skill. So the next time you notice yourself spiraling into, I can't do this, or how much worse is this pain going to get? Or what should I try next? I feel like I've tried everything. Just pause, take a breath, acknowledge the fact that there is pain, but then gently ask, but what else is here? Not to minimize your pain, just to widen the focus. Look around the room. Do you notice what colors do you see? What sounds do you hear? What's the temperature in the room? Just look around. What do you feel? Can you feel the hard surface of your chair or the soft surface of your chair? Even just doing that for a little bit counts, because over time, that repetition is teaching your brain, pain's here, but it's not an emergency, and that can change things. So I want to tell you that I understand what it's like to be in pain all the time, every day. I hope that this is not invalidating for you. I just want you to understand that your attention is powerful. When pain becomes the only thing that you're focusing on, it can feel so overwhelming. But when you can teach your attention to widen, pain can move from the center of your focus. This was one of the first tools I tried, and it's still one of the tools I use every day. I don't use it perfectly, but I try to intentionally do this. You don't have to eliminate pain in order to influence it. Sometimes you just have to move the flashlight. Be gentle with yourself, though. Be gentle with yourself. You're learning a skill, and that matters. So next week, we'll talk about the chronic pain cycle and how we can interrupt that loop. And I want you to remember again that your pain is real and there's hope. And my goal is to help you have your pain in the rear view.